Everybody, welcome back. X's and Knowles, presented by Knowles247.com. Trey Rowland, Adam Brown, Kevin Little, and we are in the thick of the offseason where most other analysts would rest on their laurels. Not us, my friend, because we're workaholics and we just love recording content for you guys. And today, like we promised, because we always keep our promises here on this side of the camera, we promised for you that we were going to look at that spring game and we were going to chop it up like Iron Chef Morimoto to the tiniest little degree. Yeah, my favorite Iron Chef, by the way.
Yes.
Shout out Morimoto. Anyway, like Morimoto, we're going to chop it up. We're going to analyze everything, and it's going to be pristine. It's going to be beautiful. So we want to take that spring game, and we want to start looking at some of those individual matchups, some of the things that we can take of value out of that. Florida State this year has a very intriguing 2024 ball club, particularly on the offensive line. A lot of new guys getting rotated in, Terrence Ferguson, Richie Leonard, stalwarts as well. You got a guy like Darius Washington, who's arguably the best left tackle in the ACC, one of the better ones in the entire country. But that's not who we're going to be focusing on today. We're going to be focused on his counterpart, Jeremiah Byers, the heralded transfer in from UTEP a year ago, a guy whose athletic profile screamed potential, and a guy whose play had some ups and downs. He was one of the ones, because he's kind of like, to me, Adam, like an X factor on the offensive line. There's plenty of guys, and they're littered all throughout the team, like Malik Benson at wide receiver, Marvin Jones Jr. at defensive end, maybe like a Conrad Hussey at safety. Guys that if they can reach that next level, it raises the entire floor and the potential of this Florida State ball club. Jeremiah Byers was a guy that got a lot of derision from the fan base after the spring game. So we're going to look at his entire spring game performance and break down. Was it as bad as everybody thought? Was it not? Is there nuance? Adam, what's your take? You're big on Byers this offseason. Why are you so high on his game in year 2 with Mike Norvell and Alex Atkins?
I think I'm bullish on the fact that he's going to make growth. I don't know if saying I'm high on him is a fair statement.
B.O.B. Big on
Byers.
Know,
dude. You've been talking about him a lot.
But people, mainly that's because people have been crapping all over him, and I think it's been very unjust.
Is he a white knight?
No, not a white knight. I'm just
white knight.
There was a lot of consternation coming out of the spring game of how bad he played, and when we watched it back, we kind of said, "Look, it wasn't what many of you thought that it was." I've gathered some good intel on kind of what the plan was with the spring game and what some of the issues are for him. So I'm excited to talk about that as we go through the film. But I think that there's a really good floor there for him. He's a guy that fits what they want to do. They're going to want to run the football. He's a good run blocker. We've seen him make strides in that area towards the end of last year and then through the spring. He's doing that well. That's the foundation of this offense. So there's a plus. I think they're going to do some different things with their pass sets this year that lead me to believe that some of the upfield stuff isn't going to be as big of an issue for him, which that was a problem. He's athletic, but he doesn't necessarily have length, and his feet and his hands don't always match up, and he gives up the edge. So I think that they're going to work on some stuff to try to help out there. So I'm encouraged about where he's going to be as a player for this upcoming season. And mainly, I just caution people not to take a spring game and get carried away with what they think about a guy.
Interesting. Do you want to talk about what you think the differences in those pass sets are going to be, or do you want to have this as a nice little teaser for when we get to the film and maybe
let's talk about it in the film. I also don't maybe want to give some of that stuff away because
you can't get it today. Sorry, Kev. Let's roll that film and let's take a look, because like we said, we don't want to extrapolate too much from a spring game, but positions like this where there's one-on-one matchups where it's good versus good, you can judge the performance for what it was.
Yeah, so we're going to be looking at right tackle mostly. So he's going to be responsible for blocking Marvin Jones Jr., Patrick Payton, two of the better, defensive ends potentially in the ACC. So we'll kind of see
So I do know that there was a plan for the spring. I think it was Brendan or Chris maybe talked about this on the boards after the spring game. And this is obviously a callback because this has been a little bit since the spring game. But there was an effort to keep it very simple with what they were doing technique wise. It was just going to be straight sets and don't do anything crazy. Now here, like, I think he's in great position there. He's holding the edge. He's not giving up an edge, which is what he's been beat by. The biggest thing, if you watch, his feet just give out. He doesn't have his base here and his cleats give out. So this is an area where we see him throughout the game get beat. And it's something that's got to improve.
Is it a strength thing?
No,
Kev, what do you think?
I mean, there's a sense to this is probably just, a little bit of an equipment issue, but I mean, he is a little outside of his base here, trying to anchor, which isn't that abnormal, but because it was so far, it wasn't underneath him. That was a lot of horizontal forces being put on that cleat, which could explain a little bit of it. But he recovers. I would say he does lose this rep, but how much of it is because
the problem is when his hands and his feet, when he goes for that outside punch, his feet stop, and when his feet stop, then he gets himself in trouble. But really, he gets beat here because, I mean, when your cleats slide out from underneath of you, there's only so much you can do. I think he recovers okay. They just there's not really a pocket to step up.
Yeah,
into.
What doesn't help him out here, and what doesn't get talked about in kind of pass rushing circles, is everybody watches the tackles. Well, they can give that up because the assumption is that this is here and you can step up into the pocket. But watch Daniel Lyons here on the inside. He completely collapses this pocket. DJ has nowhere to step up. And so even though Byers has recovered, normally you could step up and kind of work your way, kind of keeping your eyes downfield, but he can't do that here.
He's got to do a better job with his outer hand and his outer foot. It's got to be better. Like, they've got to work in unison. And as soon as he makes contact, then his feet kind of stop, and then he gets himself beat. Like,
right, you gotta
continue to work.
I wonder if you're to. So here, it seems like he's making contact with his hands while this foot's in the air, and I'm sure that's
not great.
Less
can't see the other
timing.
foots. You don't know exactly what's going on, but
all right.
But really, he gets beat because his feet, his cleats, for whatever reason, he does not get grip there.
You got to work in concert, though, with the hands and the feet, though. Yeah,
yes,
absolutely.
Yep, it's a coaching point for them.
Is that something to where, is that a coordination thing? It's just technique. Can you rep that out of somebody, those bad habits, for a player that's been, I mean, Byers he's an older player now. Is that just something you're going to have to deal with?
I think that's a good question. I know they're spending a lot of time on it. I think that they are aware that maybe it's not something they're going to get fixed, and they're going to try to do some different stuff to help him out.
Okay, a little damage control.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah. I think that they're aware that it's a problem that may not get fixed.
Okay. All right, let's throw some more film on and take a look. But like you said, that it looks good for like 80-85% of it. It's just you got to tweak that very end, right?
Yep. Yeah, that point of contact is where he finds himself getting losses, and he's got to do a better job there. Like, here's a better job. Like, feet look like they're crossing over, which you don't love, but he's in position.
Mm-hmm.
Right. I got to step away for 1 second, guys.
No problem. So, Kev, what do you see here?
Yeah, I think you're seeing a little bit of the timing issues again. I think Marvin Jones Jr. does a good job of kind of getting underneath the pads here. So he kind of gets out in front. He's got a little bit longer arms, so he kind of wins that battle. Again, I don't love where his feet are at this point of contact. It forces him to kind of reach
Yeah, I'm with you. The base is never really under him all the way, and it's tough. And it's tough for him because he doesn't have the longest arms, like you said. So there's a
I
lot
mean,
of
he's got
reaching.
plenty of long arms. I mean, Marvin Jones Jr. just is just a freak.
That's fair. Yeah.
But yeah, I think realistically, it'd be nice if we saw a pass set out of Darius Washington there to kind of get a comparison with someone who's a little bit more crisp in their technique. But yeah, he feels like he's waiting for this hand fight here, and he's not in the best position. So you can see when this contact is made, his foot's off the ground, and then he's having to cross his feet to keep up. And I don't think he does a terrible job here. There's pocket to move up in.
Notice here how he's setting much sooner. I think that's something important to note.
Right, he is. I mean,
And by setting much sooner, like he's not taking a drop back. He's not drop stepping. He's setting right now for contact.
Anchoring himself, and like you said, these aren't horrific reps. They're not even really bad reps. He's got enough time to get the pass off. DJ does. Marvin Jones Jr. kind of rides himself out of the play. Ideally, you'd want the quarterback to step up a little bit more in the pocket. Like these are fine reps against a guy that was many players king of the spring and Marvin Jones Jr. Yeah, I'd say so. Yeah. All right, another play here. A lot of pass sets, which is funny because we expect them to run the ball a lot.
You know how these things go. Best league plans.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so this is a little more of a traditional drop step. He gets nice width here.
Yeah, and now he's able to get to his drop set with his feet set. You can see he handles the contact a little bit better,
but
a lot sturdier.
It's the same thing. He goes for that contact, and watch how his feet stop. Even if it's a small step, he's got to continue to be moving. And you see it; it's right
punch
there.
And stop. Yeah, absolutely.
He's stopping his feet. He's trying to anchor for a punch, and he's going to give him an edge. He creates a short edge here for Jones to dip under.
I don't love how his angle here, he starts leaning more with his back instead of bending with his knees. I think that's not a great place to be. It puts your weight out in front and makes it harder to adjust here. So I think he kind of wins this because it's a quick release throw. But yeah,
I do think he's got Jones run by here, but yeah, I would. There's an edge there, but I do think he's gets it run around.
DJ's not stepping up in the pocket.
But there's a good glimpse of what we're talking about there. Like,
I love that play, like you said, because it's visible how his motion on the lower half of his body stops after he punches.
Here's a good job picking up a twist. 3rd and 10, he handles these patient.
Yeah, that's better. He doesn't get as much of a punch from Darrell Jackson as he would from an end kind of rushing straight at him.
Right. Yeah, it's almost like he feels like, okay, I don't have to worry about power to speed or speed to power here. I know what I'm going to get.
But okay, watch this comparison to Darius Washington. So I'm going to try to pause it at the moment of contact. So he braces, he knows at the point of contact, he's got this leg already positioned under him and in a very stable position. This leg isn't in the air. He's not kind of balancing. He's not about to cross his feet. He has braced himself for this contact because he sees this bull rush coming. That's a very stable position where with Jeremiah Byers, he's still kind of
upright there. Yeah.
This is probably the best rep, but he's
in a good spot there. He's got a nice flat back.
Right. This is his best rep, but
elbows are tucked tight. His feet are up underneath him. His ankles got good bend in his ankles here.
Yeah. But
this is a good athletic position for him.
Yes.
I would wonder if he has been beaten by power so much that that's what gets him in trouble. Like he feels like so much he's stressed about getting either beat across his face or beaten by a bull rush that's why he wants to anchor so hard and not get beat with his outside or not get beat across his face or power through his chest.
And his problem too, though, when we were watching his film when he was at UTEP, his great reps looked good, but there was a lot of like whiffs, right?
Yeah.
Like there was a lot of just misses, and it looks like he's done a lot of steps to minimize that. Like even if the technique isn't perfect, he's getting himself in position to where he's going to make contact with his guy, and I think that's a market improvement. Just got to clean up some stuff.
Yeah, that's what it seems like to me, Trey, that he's kind of at the point where he's willing to sacrifice a little bit of, being in this perfect position to receive an anchor like Darius is, to make sure that he's there, to make sure that he's getting his hands there. He's not going to be beat by double moves. He's not going to be off balance necessarily to any sort of, speed rush or double move.
Yeah, it's like it's the baseball player that kind of cranks down the power to up the batting average a little bit. He's trying to hit a bunch of singles, and he's not trying. He's trying to lower the whiff rate, which with this Florida State offense, the way it's constructed this year, makes a ton of sense. Because the one thing they don't want to do is with a good running team, they're going to up, we think, the success rate this year. They don't want to get behind the chains. The play is kind of a visual representation of that, which I think it's nice. I like I like the tweak there. Let's see what else we got from old JB.
Yeah, we got to jump ahead in the film a little bit, try to get to the.
Do you like what you're seeing so far, though, Adam? Like, he's in position. He's in a lot better position than he was even last year. Like being where he's good. He's a lot better at getting where he needs to be. It's just once he's there. So let's take a look and see some other stuff. But yeah, like he's getting to these positions, which is an improvement.
I'm encouraged. I'm encouraged, and from the main part, like I think he's worked on some of his weaknesses, which getting beat across his face last year was a problem. But then on top of that, like I think they know there's a course of action to take to play to his strengths, not his weaknesses, and that's that's a good thing.
Here's his first rep in the run game that we've seen, and I agree.
So this is kind of we're working.
He hits the inside move, passes it off to his guard. They're running outside zone, and he's going to climb to the backer. Yeah, this is textbook. Doesn't stay on that double too long. Their communication seems to be better, which is good. We thought last year there were at times that communication on some of those doubles was not great.
Which is interesting because there's a new right guard in there that he's playing with too, Leonard, right?
But Richie's a vet to the game. Like I'm sure there's an understanding of. I'm sure they do a good job of communicating with one another. Not that Meach wasn't, but you kind of had a rotation there too with Keandre Jones last year.
We're big Richie Leonard guys on this podcast.
So I think one thing they've kind of learned with him is that he does have good feet. So he's here again. He's kind of quick setting.
Yep.
He gets the speed rush, but because he's doing the speed set to make sure he's in a decent position for the bull rush, but he's still kind of quick enough to ride his guy out, right? He wins this rep. It's not pretty. It looks like the defensive end gets behind him, but he has no real chance of getting to the quarterback here.
Yeah, his feet are still working there. You don't want him to have to turn and run.
Yeah,
I don't know how his length is. He's probably not an offensive tackle at the next level.
Yeah, I don't like how lungy he gets on this rep.
Yeah.
Right. Well, it looks good there, and then
he's
right
there,
there,
which is okay. But then he starts kind of leaning, and
it's just last year. A lot of times that would have been a complete like Olay move, and it is getting better.
But they're trying to short set, and he's figuring out ways to beat that speed, which is good because, like Trey said last year, that's a sack, hands down.
All too often.
Here's a more traditional set again. He picks a twist up.
He covers ground really quickly, Adam. Like he's very athletic.
Yeah, he's got good feet. Ooh, Malik Benson. Hey, nice catch.
What up, brother?
Sorry. Glad you're healthy.
Me too, dude. That's a great point. Oh, very tenacious rep there.
Yeah, I think he struggles with the bull rush a little bit because of those same issues we talked about before of just hands and feet not being in the same place.
Feet stop.
Right, and it's normal for
Might have been a hand to the face here, but
let's see.
this is one I know people were up in arms about, and I'm like, I get it, but at the same time,
It just doesn't look great with
you
the
need
guy
DJ
in
to
his
not be a
lap.
statue. You need DJ to move a little bit too. Like, help me help you here, buddy.
Let's see the interior pocket. Does he have? Well,
Yeah, the one thing about Byers I'll say is that I don't think his anchor is great.
no.
And I think a lot of it, I mean, his
He looks a
feet
little
right
butt up
here.
right there. He looks a little butt up.
Right, he lets people kind of get under him a little bit, knock him off his balance. I mean, if you compare to that to just the hit that Darius Washington took earlier, who I say that and he kind of gets beat on this rep, but
is that Darius on that other side?
yeah, well, I think he's
Oh yeah, it is. Yeah, that's there you
a
go.
miscommunication, but
Yeah,
I would say his anchor is not where it needs to be, but he's gotten hands and gotten in front of everybody.
I think his elbows are a little wide there, and he gives up kind of leverage on the inside, which gets him beat. I think he needs to maybe do a little better job of keeping his elbows in tight here and getting a better punch, not letting that defensive end get to his chest. But again, that's where I think some of the length kind of hurts him. He doesn't have NFL length, and guys can get into his chest, which is going to get you beat in a bull rush.
I wonder if he's aware that he lunged in the last play and it was trying actively not to lunge this time.
like overcorrect it. Yeah.
Was almost too patient.
I think too. There's also, as an offensive tackle, Adam, do you sometimes get a little gun shy with your aggression on the punch, worrying that you'll whiff and miss and the play will blow up? You're not supposed to, but this is a guy who's had issues with that.
I don't know. I mean, it's tough to say. I'm not in his head. You know what I mean? Like, you shouldn't, but it happens, right? I mean,
he moves well in the run game. I can tell you that. I like the way he climbs to the second level. I think he's a weapon getting to the second level on some of these runs.
Yeah, he missed a lot of second level blocks last year, so it's good to see him kind of get this one and do a really good job turning them out, making them.
Yeah, I mean, you could see growth in the run game from him, which is good. It's encouraging because that's what they want to be. They want to be a run team. First and foremost, play action.
And dude, we saw, like, I can't count the number of times where literal home run explosive plays were killed by not getting, like, sealing the block at the next level, holding it long enough, sometimes not even getting there. And it was just, they were one guy away so many times. Now with the vision of the running backs that they have this year, like, and if they can start to have improved blocking at the second level, which I think we've seen a lot in the spring game, I like it, man. It's a good look.
Yeah, I think you're going to see a lot of these kind of things out of FSU this year. You know, not really a traditional pass set. You're sliding to the left. You're pulling a guy. You're trying to make it look like run off the play action. That makes life easier for these running backs or for these offensive linemen who, you know, these defensive tackles aren't trying to get upfield because they're seeing run, you know?
Trying to play their gaps, yeah. And it allows Byers to fire off the ball in a more offensive position. Whew, look at that cannon.
Yeah, I mean, a pretty good rep here. He knows he's sliding to the left, so he's just looking for anybody to show up in this gap.
Yeah. The back's going to be responsible. Oh, no, I'm sorry. They pulled a guard. The guard's responsible.
Yeah. Here, right tackle again.
There we go. A little pull and counter.
Yeah, he looks good in space. I mean, he moves well, and that's why he was so highly regarded out of the portal.
Yep.
Yeah, good feet, light anchor, but he moves. He eats space.
All right, so passing situation.
Here he's going against Pat Payton.
Yep.
Yeah, he slides again.
Yeah, see, Pat's up in his chest. Like this again is a situation where
It's a link. I think there's a lot of guys get to his chest even like pretty consistently, Adam.
Yeah. But
his hands are a little too. His elbows are too wide. He's kind of reaching with his hands there. That's why he's got to take that inside arm and that inside hand and get that. Not let Pat's hand get into him. Like he's got to lift that thing up and get it out of there.
Right. He's not dictating terms. So you see that he allows Pat, Pat's been around the block. He can tell when right here he knows he's about to take a shuffle. Pat gets his hands in right as he's leaving the ground.
His feet are a little too tight together there.
Right. Meanwhile, if you look at Darius Washington up here on this pass rush, he's ready. And so when this contact comes, his feet are set, he's ready. Meanwhile, Byers at contact.
I also don't love how his shoulders are turned. Like you got to keep those shoulders a little more square to the line of scrimmage.
Yeah, it's one of those things that's kind of hard to describe, but it's very clear difference here.
You can see like he's legitimately sliding when he's trying to put his anchor down. Now, I don't. There were some equipment issues, I guess, but a lot of it's the way where the legs are positioned.
Like it's weird. He does a good job of re-anchoring after.
He re-anchors a lot. I've noticed
the initial contact here. Like he does a good job of dropping his leverage and getting into it. And I think Richie Leonard kind of knocks Pat off of him, or else I think he's going to kind of square him up here. But I don't know. This is a weird rep. I don't understand the feet sliding out from under him thing so much. Like
it's happened a lot. Yeah.
Yeah. Is it just a deal with his cleats? Is it an equipment issue, or like that's an odd thing? Even bad technique, like. Your feet shouldn't be sliding out from underneath of you.
Yeah.
And I know this is the Byers video, but DJ really lets that pocket come to him.
He does.
Have you noticed that? Like he's just gonna sit there till that pocket just like bashes him in the face.
He trusts his arm.
Well, to be fair, this pocket, there is not really much of a pocket.
Yeah, I know on this one, but
I actually think it's not bad right there. Like,
I mean, it's not bad. There's just,
a pocket doesn't have to be the perfect U. Like, take a step to your left here, and
yes, he should move sooner here.
Yeah,
AB to go. I think part of it is that, I mean, if you look at Darius, he is set as he's making contact,
and his shoulders are more square to the line of scrimmage as opposed to Jeremiah, he's already turned like.
And he's allowing them to get in his chest, which is lifting him off the ground, which is means he's putting less weight down when he's trying to re-anchor.
But he is staying in front of them, which is an improvement from what they were. So if you can just get the improvement in the anchor and the weight distribution and the hand positioning, like Adam said, stop throwing so many hooks, start throwing more straight punches.
Here's a good look of it. Yeah, look how that outside foot gets all off kilter. Like, instead of continuing to drop with depth and stay square, he's almost forcing himself to turn. See how he short steps there?
Look how narrow he is. Like, look at how narrow his shoulders are too, Adam. Like this, the feet are too close together. It's you got to clean it up. He gets a good jump off the ball though. Like he's got a good reaction time always.
I know that they feel very strongly that his outside hand and his outside foot get messed up in a big way.
Yeah. And I think you can
see it there. Like he doesn't continue to get himself depth there. His hand kind of goes still. His feet kind of go still, and he gives up bad position.
Here, I'll go slower. So we're watching the outside hand and the outside foot. So from right,
boom, right there. Now see See, the first one he does a nice big one, and then the next one is just kind of like
Right. He's stuck here. His left
Yeah.
foot is catching up to his right
yeah. He
foot.
gained no depth with that outside foot on
Well,
that
look
second
at his look at his outside foot compared to Washington's outside foot.
Right.
The angle.
He's still got a decent base.
Byers' outside foot is almost in front of his inside foot.
Yeah, I think honestly a lot of it is just because that second step seems like
Ooh.
his second step is short. Darius is able to get a little bit more depth. That means he's able to anchor a little bit more effectively and keep people off of his chest a little bit better.
It's interesting. It's something they got to clean up, or they've got to find a way to do something different for him.
Initially with him, it looks good. It's working on what happens after that initial contact or just right after the initial athletic movements, which I think can be cleaned up to an extent, right? I mean, you're not going to totally clean it up, but you've already seen improvement in his game from this season to the spring game, which is encouraging.
Yeah, honestly, my biggest concern with him wasn't necessarily the pass set. I thought he was fine. Actually, maybe we can bring up his PFF scores from last season, which I'll do right now. But I felt like run blocking was the thing I was more concerned about. But no, here he is.
There you go, staying in front of him. Yeah, false start. We know. All right.
Yeah.
Gotta clean that up, brother.
Just don't do a lot of that.
Yeah, gotta clean that up. Oh, Mike, I couldn't see his face. I know there's consternation on that face. Yep, look at that vein in that neck. Holy moly, brother. It keeps the frustration level. It's a spring game, not to Mike. And there you go.
Shout out Derek Satterfield there.
There you go. Nice friendly back rub for a legend.
Yeah, he was rated slightly higher as a pass blocker.
There's good movement.
Than a run blocker last year.
That doesn't surprise me. He was bad as a run blocker last year.
Right. So that's what I'm watching.
He needed to gain the strength of being a P5 player. Like, I mean, we went over all that as breaking down film of him last year, but you see there, that looks a lot different than what we saw last year as a run blocker.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
And that's what we care about more this year.
Yeah, I think it really is.
2nd and 18. What are we going to get?
Yeah, they're throwing like a lot of vanilla base pass stuff here, and this offense is going to look so different during. Oh, he stays with them there. Who's 13? Who's he going up against? Is that
that's
Sione. So
Sione tries to hit him with an inside move here. He's just got to step laterally and
good rep though, dude. Honestly, like
that outside foot though, it is a problem.
It looks ugly, and they need to clean it up. But he's getting the job done. I get why this drew a lot of eyes during the spring game. This is a win for him. Yeah, well, he's got to keep everything moving.
It's how high he ends up getting after contact. I mean, look how narrow these feet are. He's lost.
Yep.
And it's his outside foot steps in as he's trying desperately to anchor here. It's not. Yeah, he's staying in front. He's making contact. He's not getting whiffed, but he's not in great positions there.
I'd say we can take a look at a couple more because I feel like
we've beaten a dead horse here.
Well, I feel like we know, but it's good. The thing about that is that there's not a lot of different screw ups on every single play. There's not a lot of whiffs. There's not a lot of disaster pieces. There's not a lot of the stuff that we saw. There's a lot less variability to his game between the highs and the lows. It's a common thing that does need to get corrected or it will get taken advantage of, particularly by the premier edge rushers that he's going to face when he does face them this season.
Mm-hmm.
But it's you know what you have to work on. And I think you do have a lot to work with.
Yeah, I think the most encouraging thing is that you know what the problem is there, and an idea of what needs to be corrected, but also that like he's not just getting blown up like we saw last year. Like remember
No.
the Clemson game, like they had to bench him because it was so bad. Like I don't think you're going to see those caliber of
That
defensive
was better
ends
against a bigger guy.
Yeah, but I also think he's finding a way to win with some of these flaws still, which is good. I mean, that's you want it to be perfect, you want it to look perfect all the time, but that's not offensive line play. It's not always going to look perfect. Like he's finding a way to battle and win, which is that's good in my opinion.
Yes, I agree.
He looks good on guards.
Yeah.
Or on defensive tackles.
Yeah, I mean,
so
I
like
think he's a guard at the next level personally.
Yeah. And you definitely see it.
Dudes with length are going to give him a problem, but like you said, winning ugly. I mean, I'll still take the wins, man.
Yeah,
Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That one, okay, he got you there. He got you there.
Yeah, he fell off on that one.
Well, that's what happens when you reach, though, right? You're going
it's
against.
gonna happen. I mean, Pat, but I mean, he's going to be passing that thing off anyway, and they get Pat blocked, and the ball cuts back on him. So,
yeah, we're complaining. This is the intricacies of line play. Is he objectively loses here, but his job is to push to beat him outside, which he does. Gives him to the guard, and it's a touchdown. Like irregardless.
And there are even like when you get beat, there are some. When you get beat, it's not all the same level of disaster. Right? Yeah, there really is, because and him having a better understanding of the offense, knowing that you can get, if I'm going to get beat on this play, I need to get beat this way so it won't kill it, and boom, it's a cutback touchdown. Like there is positioning and where you need to have your guys so the play is successful.
Agreed.
You get better with that as you learn the offense. So what do we think, guys? I think, my opinion, athletic, markedly improved in the run game. The pros, or these are all pros. The space that he eats, how fluid he looks in movement, I think it's going to be great with the pulling game, the counters. I think the screen game, we watched him one rep with that screen. I think DJ took off and ran. He looked good on that rep on screen. Yeah. I think Florida State should have been a much better screen team last year. I think they can be a better one this year. That was actually, I was disappointed in how Florida State, I didn't think they were as good of a screen team as I expected. The negatives, I mean, we talked about.
He's got technical stuff he's got to clean up.
Yeah, it's technical.
What it is. Yeah.
Outside hand, outside leg, anchor, height, things like that. Things, though, that because we've seen him improve, I'm giving them the benefit of the doubt. And they were asking him to do a lot of stuff in that spring game that will not be asked of him in Dublin against Georgia Tech.
I think they kept it really simple in the spring, and we're okay with him being in bad positions. And I don't think that that's what you do when you go into a game with a game plan.
Kev, what do you think? What do you think about what you saw? As an offensive guru.
I think you nailed it with the good beat and bad beat, and kind of transitioning into that lose big, lose small, win small.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
I think that spring game looked like a kind of lose small type.
Win ugly, yeah. Lose ugly, lose kind of okay. Win ugly,
right.
Win
great. Ugly, right? Like get in front of them, make sure that you're not gonna whiff by overextending. Try to make sure that your feet are there, and we're gonna fix the right foot. We're gonna fix that base. We're gonna keep working on that. With a guy that's probably not gonna drop step like that at the next level. So he stayed in front of his guys. He was there. You're hoping that you can kind of trust the left side of the line to give a place for DJ to work up. And realistically, he's gonna give them the 2.5, 3 seconds that is expected of a right tackle. And so you need him to be a people mover in the run game. You need to be better in the run game. And that's where we're going to spend most of their time. And you know, he needs to be adequate and not get beat in the pass game. And I think he's getting there. But for me, that's always been my question is this offense. You had Jordan Travis last year. Jordan Travis was able, and Trey Benson at times was able to make up, and Keon and Johnny were able to make up for deficiencies on the offensive line. They were able to make explosives out of nothing. You don't necessarily have that this year. So you need him to be more consistent. And I think that's what you saw them trying to do in the spring game.
I think so too. I think well said, gentlemen. And I think we've said it all. Well done. That is your look at Jeremiah Byers, a little Jeremiah Byers extended spring preview. We're going to be looking at some other positions as the weeks go on. So please make sure you're subscribed to the X and Knowles YouTube channel, the Knowles 24/7 YouTube channel. Recruiting news is just going to barf itself all over. And you want to know what's going on with Florida State, you got to be on Knowles247.com to get all the best analysis and insider news. You could be an insider. You can tell people that it's your information, and it's really not. It's fantastic. There's so many angles you can take. And guys, I know you've been waiting for it. The 40 most important player list is coming up soon. Get ready because we're going to break all that down. And if you're not subscribed to these channels, you're going to see nothing and you're going to have nothing interesting to say. If you don't have anything to talk about Florida State football, what are you going to talk about in the office? You don't have anything else to say.
Shogun's gone. What the hell are we doing?
Shogun's over, Anjan. Let me help you be interesting in the office and have great insights. And we'll be here every week to do that. I love you. Keep chopping.